Hello and welcome to the 7-Day Athlete AI Challenge, where I take you from beginner with zero coding experience all the way to athlete dev and your own full-blown customized athlete operating system, what I call your Athlete OS. Now, a brief side note on myself, I'm Kevin. I played Division I lacrosse in college. I got into endurance sports after college, and I'm an absolute data nerd. I love to dive into my statistics, understand how I can improve my training by crunching the numbers, and I've been building with technology over the last couple of years. I'm excited to finally be able to offer to you the same tools and learnings that allowed me to complete ultra marathons, Ironmans, triathlons, marathons, and everything in between. If you've never opened a tool like this, it's okay. Take a deep breath. It just means that you're about to embark on a journey that's going to be life-changing. I guarantee it. Today is all about the infrastructure. We're going to be setting up your workshop. We're going to be laying the foundation. Think of it as base miles. Everything that we do today is going to allow us to build and develop into the future. We're going to cover three main things. The first, installing our tools. We're going to install VS Code and we're going to install Claude Code. The second, we're going to create your very first Claude.md file and explain why it's the brain of the whole system. And then finally, we're going to put in our first prompt, the Athlete OS starter prompt, which is going to allow you to create your folders and profiles and the entire infrastructure to move forward. Without further ado, let's get started. Everything begins with VS Code. This is what we call an IDE, an integrated development environment. You'll hear the acronym everywhere. Don't worry. It just allows you to connect to different folders and projects on your actual desktop and create really dynamic applications. So if you don't have VS Code already installed, you're going to go type into Google and click the first link. Download Visual Studio Code. Now, depending on what software or what computer you have, you'll select the one that's most appropriate to you. I have a Windows, so I'm going to select Windows. If you have a Mac, select the Mac, etc. Now, it'll prompt you to download it, run through the download, and ask it to open up after the installation is complete. Now, when you first get it downloaded and you get it installed, this is the first screen that you'll see. It's the welcome message from Visual Studio Code. What Visual Studio Code allows us to do is actually create projects and folders on our desktop. Think of a project as just a folder with many subfolders underneath of it. The first place you're going to want to go is the Explore button in the top left. Then you'll click this Open folder. What we're doing is creating that base infrastructure to allow us to build every application moving forward. One pro tip here, if you have OneDrive, do not install your project as a folder on OneDrive. Install it locally on your desktop. There's ramifications down the road when you start to connect different things that'll make that OneDrive just makes really difficult. So what I like to do is just go down to my local. I've created a little subfolder called projects. And what you can do here is you can click new folder and just type in athlete.os. Now, when you get that completed, click it and click select folder. Congratulations, you're a developer. It really is that simple. So now we've got the base infrastructure to allow us to actually begin to develop. If you get stuck on any part of that setup, just drop a note in the community platform and I'll respond and we'll get you set up. So now that you've got your base project set up, you've got to install the driver, Claude Code. If you wanted to use Codex, you can do that here too, but for all intents and purposes today, we're going to be using Claude Code as our daily driver. On the left-hand side here, you're going to see something called extension. Go ahead and click that. It's going to open up all these different types of extensions for you. The first thing that you'll do is just type in Claude. The first one with the Anthropic little check mark is Claude Code or VS Studio Code. That's developed by Anthropic for this exact application. Go ahead and click it. Now I've already got this installed, but where you'll have it here is a little install button. When you click install, it'll actually prompt you to put in your Claude credentials. Now, you can do it one of two ways. You can connect in through an API, or you can connect in through your basic monthly data subscription. I recommend option 2. It's way easier, and it doesn't require you going out and getting an API token, and quite honestly, it allows you to have some type of cap in terms of your spending so you don't get carried away. As soon as you get connected, you'll come back here and you'll see on the right-hand side next to chat, Claude Code. This is that natural language, that area that you can actually talk to Claude in and allow it to do different things. Before we go down that rabbit hole, I'm just going to go back here and just explain kind of the infrastructure and the setup of what we're looking at. This screen here, you'll see on the left-hand side is where we're going to make all of our files. So this is a new file here. This is a new folder. You can add folders. You can do whatever you need to do and build it out. Most of the time, Claude's going to do that for you. But it's just a nice area to know that you'll start to see this populate as we build. The middle area, this is where you'll see different notifications pop up and pages that you can actually review if you want. And then on the right-hand side, this is the chatbot. Think of this as your basic, or I would say more advanced version of the Claude chat, where you can actually type something in and it'll start to code and develop that for you. Now, you've probably heard of the word terminal or people talking about using Claude Code in the terminal. You absolutely can do that, but it's not my personal preference. If that's something that interests you, what you'll do is you'll hit Control J. Control J, if you're on a Mac, it's Command J, will actually bring up the terminal for you to use. And now, as you get more advanced and you start to develop, you will need the terminal for some things, like running a dev environment or installing different MCPs. The terminal, you should know about it, but you should not have to use it as a daily tool. You can use the chat, and that's more than enough for what you need to do here. As a quick reference on the terminal, what you'll see is where your project folder lives, and just making sure that you're actually in the right area. Okay, one final thing before we actually implement our full prompt. You're going to see, you've probably heard people talk about dangerously skip permissions and bypass permissions, and what does that actually mean? In the bottom right of your chat, you'll see this little bypass permissions button. I've got mine clicked on. There's a bunch of different modes. It's basically allowing Claude, or it's giving Claude parameters saying you can go up to, you have the permission to do X, Y, and Z. At the absolute base tier is plan mode. Use plan mode early and use it often. Plan mode will not have Claude actually start creating or coding anything without you fully reviewing the plan that it's come up with. It's great for strategy building. It's great for really if you want to install a new feature, if you want to build something brand new, or if you're just starting from scratch and you don't want it to start coding right away, use plan mode. The next piece is ask before edits. Every time it's going to make a change to the code, it will ask you, it will prompt you saying, is this okay? Do you approve? The third piece is edit automatically, which will give it pretty much permission to do a lot up until a certain point. The mode that I operate, and I think most people who use this as a daily driver operate in, is this thing called bypass permissions. You've probably also heard it as dangerously skip permission. What this allows you to do is Claude to actually go through and not prompt you every single time it needs to make a change. For what we're trying to do here, I think it's the most beneficial for you. It'll allow you to actually develop and grow. Quite honestly, we're just working in a desktop environment. We're not connecting to external servers. I recommend using this bypass permissions, but if you're nervous or if you're going to be doing more advanced things and you don't want Claude to just continue to develop without you, use edit automatically and you'll be able to check every step of the way. You will not see bypass permissions from the start. To actually see bypass permissions, you're going to go on the left-hand side. You're going to go down to settings, and then you're going to go to the settings here, settings and settings. It'll bring up this and just type in bypass. Okay. You'll see this little check mark here, Claude Code allow dangerously skip permissions. Go ahead and check that. That will now turn that on. You might have to close and then reopen VS Code for it to show. Every time moving forward, it'll allow you to use the bypass permissions. Again, just a disclosure, if you are doing more advanced things and you're connecting Claude to external environments that could potentially charge you or do things that would put you at risk, then don't use it. But if you're just using it locally on your desktop, you're probably okay to use the bypass permissions. Now it's time to actually implement your first Claude Code prompt. Attached as a reference file, the Athlete OS starter prompt. Go ahead and grab that because we're going to paste it directly into the Claude Code chat terminal now. So once you've got it copied, all you need to do is come down here, click into this box, and paste that entire prompt. What this prompt is going to do is Claude's going to start, you'll see on the left-hand side, it's going to start scaling out the infrastructure of your project. It's also going to ask you questions about yourself and what you're looking to actually accomplish with your training. It'll walk you through step by step. And so we'll do that together right now. And you'll see it's got these fun words: mustering, clodding, moseying. It goes through a number of iterations. It's fun until it's 2, 3, 4 in the morning and you've been staring at this thing and it keeps telling you that it's tinkering. But as you can see here, it's starting to already build out these folders. You've got your .claude, you've got your health, races, reviews, training. It's going to continue to build that out. Boom, we just saw the claude.md file get built out. It's starting to actually go through and develop that. It's got your athlete operating system markdown file. What you see here, this .md, that's really what that stands for is markdown. Think of it just as a text file. So text file on your computer, it's a text file here. Okay, great. First question. What's your sport or your mix? I primarily I'm training for Run the Rut Trifecta in September, but I also do love Ironmans, and I've got some planned in the future, so I want to mix in some cross training. Go ahead and click enter. And if you're wondering how I can talk to my computer and not actually have to type, there's a application called Whisperflow. Highly recommend. It makes your life much, much easier. So now you can see, got it, runner first, Run the Rut Trifecta. It already understands what that is. I gave it 0 context, so that's pretty cool. It's in Big Sky, big September goal. Great technical mountain running. How long have I been training seriously, and what are my biggest races or events that I've done so far? I've been training pretty seriously for the last 6-7 years. The biggest races I've done, I've finished a full Ironman, I've done a couple half Ironmans, and the longest run I've done is the Leadville 100, which I did last year, and I finished under the 30-hour mark. So a couple more questions we're going to go through. That's a serious resume. Hey, pumped up. Love that. Cool. Question 3. What exactly are you training for and when? I know the headline is Run the Rut. Can you confirm the date or the weekend? And are there specific Ironmans on your schedule? I believe it's September 14th, but go ahead and just check the internet to confirm that date. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday race in September. And then the Ironman, no specific date, no specific race for the Ironman picked out yet, but I'll probably do one in the winter or winter, early spring of 2027. And now look, you can see web search, it's going to go find those actual dates and make sure that it's actually grounding itself in, boom, perfect, September 11th, 12th, and 13th. Love that. I just went out, scanned the internet, it found those actual dates, and it corrected what I said. I was wrong. It wasn't the 14th. I think that was last year. Realistically, how many hours a week can you train, and are there days that are hard to train? Right now I can probably train 10 to at the high end, 20 hours a week. Really kind of 10's my sweet spot right now. And then as we get closer to the race, we can definitely ramp it up. And then days that are harder for me to train, usually Mondays are more difficult, as those are kind of reset days for me for the week. But other than that, I can prioritize my training. 10 to 20 hours a week is strong, flexible, great. All right, any injuries, health, or issues, or things that I should be training around? Actually, yeah, one of the issues that I struggled with this last fall was I had a pinched nerve in my lower back. That was, I think, caused because of tight hips, and so I've been working on a lot of hip mobility. But everything feels pretty good right now, and I'm hitting roughly 30 to 40 miles a week of running and just starting to ramp back up on the. And part of what we're trying to do here is we're trying to give Claude as much context on who we are and what we're training for, so that down the road it's grounded in what you actually need. Okay, question 6 of 7. You know your heart rate zones or key numbers? I do, but I don't know them off the top of my head. I think my zone 2 heart rate is just 148 or 150. You know what? It probably makes sense to build in some max efforts in the beginning to understand where we're at, and maybe an FTP to kind of baseline our biking. Yep, cool. And it already knows that we're going to connect into Strava, which is great. So it's going to be able to pull a lot of that information down and understand. Question 7 of 7, last one. Anything else I should know, and what do you want the most from me as your coach? No, I think that's pretty good. I mean, how I like to be coached is I like to be challenged. I don't like when we just play this game of everything's growing great. When you see me slipping, you have to tell me that I'm slipping. When you see me doing well, you can tell me that I'm doing well. But don't sugarcoat things, and give me actual advice that's going to help me to move forward I don't need a friend, I need a coach. And once it has that last question, it's going to start creating the actual files. And you can see direct, honest, challenging. That's actually exactly what I like as a coach. No sugarcoating. Not everything's great when it isn't. Tell me when I'm slipping. That's really what a coach is for. I don't need the hand holding. I need someone who's going to push me and allow me to achieve things that are, really built out for me. And you can see here, it just built out this athlete profile.md. Now it's going to walk us through the folder structure. So let's go ahead and slide this over and take a look at what it built out. The Claude.md file is every single time Claude makes a decision, it reads this first. It has to understand and it grounds itself in the Claude.md file so that the structure and the planning is exactly how you want it moving forward. See here where my data lives. It's going to continue to build this out at the start of every session. You can tweak this, how this project is organized. You can see how that's laid out there, and you can kind of walk through this folder structure here, the Claude.md file, the athlete OS, the one-page overview on what we're actually building, which is on the athlete profile, who I am, and this was built directly from the interview, so we'll show that in a second. The training plans and the weekly schedule will be built out in training. The reviews and weekly workout reviews and how I'm actually performing and what it's thinking of me, the different races and research that I'm doing and the planning, and then my health and recovery and injury risk notes to make sure that everything I'm doing is keeping me safe and healthy, which is great. And so let's just take a look at the athlete profile and what it came up with. And you can see here, it's got a who I am section. It's got a what I'm training for. So it understood that I'm training for the rut. It corrected those dates. I do want to do an Ironman in the winter or early spring. My training capacity, right now it understands that I'm at 30 to 40 miles a week of running. Just starting to ramp back up on the bike. And that sweet spot volume is 10 to 20 hours a week, with 20 hours being at the high end as I get closer to race day. Health and injury history. Understands my pinched nerve last fall, likely caused by my tight hips. Really good, but things to watch as we work on our steep technical descents. Zone 2 numbers, again, this is something that you can work through, and how to coach me. And I think this is probably one of the most important things where you really want to train it and you want to teach it on what works for you. I like my coach when they're direct and they tell me when I'm slipping, and then they also celebrate the wins. And that's exactly what I'm hoping to get out of this. So you can see here, everything is built out. It understands exactly who I am and what I want to do, and this will be the foundation for everything moving forward. Now, I encourage you, play around with this. Change something up. Ask it a question. Now we've built out the infrastructure. You can see we've got all of our files. We've gone through. Claude understands who we are, what we're trying to do, and my profile is probably very different than yours, and yours is probably very different than your buddies, and that's exactly what you want. You want to make sure that this is customized to you so that as you develop and as you build this, it works for exactly what you're trying to accomplish. If there's something in any one of these files that ever looks off or that you want to change, all you need to do is click into the line, and you can type, I want to change this. And that's all you need to do, and then just hit Control Save, Control S, Command S on the Mac, and this will save it. And then it'll be fully updated, and every change will continue to compound. That concludes day 1 of the Athlete AI Challenge. We've set up the infrastructure. Now everything moving forward is going to be that much easier. Congratulations, you've got through the hard part. Most people get stuck here, but now that you've gotten through it, everything moving forward is going to be that much easier. So now, if you found this video helpful, subscribe down below, follow, like, I really appreciate it, and tune in tomorrow for day 2 when we connect this to Strava and actually start seeing some real freaking data. It's gonna be epic. Here we go.